All right, so we're going to start with file management. Anytime we start a new project, it's important that we keep track of where these files are going because Inventor is dependent on file management to locate the files and do the assemblies that way. What I would like everybody to do is on their H drive, which would be the drive that has their student ID number, I want you to create a new folder, and we'll title this folder IED. So that's for the class. And then within the ID folder, I'd like you to create another new folder specifically for the Puzzle Cube project. So this will be Puzzle Cube. Right? Every time we do a new project, we'll create a new folder in our IED folder, and that way we can keep track of where all the files are saving. In Inventor, then, once it's open, the first step is going to be to create a new project. When I click on the Projects button, there's an option to click New. And I'm going to select Single User Project. We don't have a vault set up, so we'll always use Single User as our option. Click Next. I can title my project. And you can use the same name as what you call the folder, that's fine. And then have to select it where it is on the computer. Right now it's defaulting to My Documents. It's not where we want to save these. We want to go into our H drive, again the drive with your student ID number, the folder, IED, and then Puzzle Cube. Hit OK. So now it's going to automatically save everything to the H drive in the ID folder in the Puzzle Cube folder. When you're happy with this, I hit Finish. And notice that there's a check mark right next to Puzzle Cube. That means that's my active project. Anything I save in Inventor automatically is going to go into that folder. If I wanted to change active projects, like if I wanted to switch my default, I simply double click and it makes a new thing active. All right, now that I have that set up, I'm going to click the New button and I'm going to create a new part file. So there's 4 different types of files that we'll use in Inventor. We're just going to focus on part files right now, and that's what we'll use to design our Puzzle Cube pieces. So starting with standard part file, I hit Create. Notice that my interface has slightly changed, and I do want to go over the interface real quick. I know we covered it in the activity that you worked on yesterday, but just so that we are familiar with the right terminology or we're talking about the same thing, I want to go over it again real quick. Starting in the top left-hand corner is the application icon. The application icon is common to all programs. That's where you do open, close, file save, export, all in the application icon. Next to that is called the Quick Access Toolbar. Quick Access Toolbar has a lot of the same functions as the application icon, but it has the things that are most commonly used, like undo, redo, save, stuff like that. Below that is the ribbon. The ribbon is what we use to basically make all the drawings and manipulations in the program. The ribbon is broken up into several parts. We have first tabs. So there's a sketch tab, there's a 3D model tab. Within the tab you have what are called panels. So this is the create panel, this is the modify panel. And then within the panels you have individual commands. To the left here is called the browser. The browser is kind of the roadmap of everything you do in the software from the moment you open the file. It's kind of nice because if I make a mistake, it's on the browser that we catch that. If I need to make a change, it's on the browser that we can do that. The big blue part here is our graphics window display, which is where we'll do most of our drawings and manipulation. And then finally, these are 2 parts of navigation. This is a navigation cube, which allows me to kind of move around my object once it's built, and the navigation bar, which has functions like pan, zoom, free orbit, and stuff like that. So in Inventor, we always are going to start with a 2-dimensional sketch and then take that sketch to make a 3-dimensional object. So you always start with a 2D sketch, manipulate that sketch to make a 3-dimensional object. So I'm going to click Start 2D Sketch as my starting point. When I do that, it gives me 3 planes to draw on, and this is basically my XYZ axis. You can really sketch on any of these, but typically I select the XY plane because that's the front view of my object. Okay, so I'm going to select that plane. Notice that the interface or the ribbon has changed. Now I'm on the Sketch tab and my options have changed. And I'm going to work through just using the line command and the rectangle command to build one of my Puzzle Cube pieces. So we're just going to focus on line and rectangle for now. Okay. So if I wanted to make 1 3/4 inch cube, I could use the line command and draw out and type as I'm going, like 0.75. 1 cube. All right, so I'm just drawing with the line command 1 cube That's 0.75 by 0.75. If I'm happy with the sketch, I'm going to click Finish. And then I'm going to use the Extrude command to take the two-dimensional sketch and make it into a three-dimensional object. So I'm clicking Extrude. It's automatically selecting my sketch since it's the only thing that's on my drawing right now. And I'll specify a distance of 0.75. So now I have one cube of my part designed. So I start with a 2D sketch, draw that, finish the sketch, make an extrusion, and I get my one cube. Okay. What you'll find in Inventor, though, is that there's several ways that I can do the exact same thing. So if I back up, I could have used line to do that, and that works. I can also use rectangle command and do the same thing. Right. So as a rectangle, I can specify one corner. I can type in the measurement. So let's say it's 0.75. The tab command allows me to switch back and forth between the measurements. So I do 0.75 by 0.75. And so I have the same basic square that I had before using the rectangle command. And then again, I can finish, hit the extrude button, 0.75, and I have one puzzle cube piece. So we could go about building our parts like one piece at a time, and that would be acceptable, but it's probably going to be the longest way to do it. Right? Instead of focusing on just one piece, what if I focused on the whole part at a time? So not one cube, but all the cubes that make up that part. So I'm going to start a new part and kind of go through the process of using lines to build the piece kind of a different way. So now I'm gonna do the back portion of that object, kind of the back surface of that cube that I'm building right there, and I'm kind of adding dimensions as I go. It's going to encompass the entire object rather than just one square. Okay, so now I have a sketch of kind of the whole back surface of my object. I click Finish, and now when I extrude the 0.75, I've drawn 5 of the cubes that make up that object with one sketch. So obviously it's going to be faster than doing cube by cube at a time. The next step then is to add the one little piece that's sticking off in the front, and so I can create a sketch on any of these surfaces, and what I want to do is sketch on this front surface. Right, so I want to click on this surface. Notice my sketch tools are back up because I'm in sketch mode. Click Rectangle. I'm going to draw my rectangle. Again, tab allows me to switch between the two. I want this to be exactly 0.75. There's my rectangle in the right spot. I finish the sketch, select Extrude, and hit OK. So now I've designed the entire piece using 2 sketches and 2 extrusions, and I can see that on the browser. Last step then is to add color to this. I would encourage you to use the same colors that you used as part of your design. So let's say I made this piece red. I'm going to use red as the color for this as well. If I'm happy with that, I'm going to go File, Save. It should default automatically to that project folder that we set up. And I'm going to call this red part. Click Save. Now that I'm done, start a new sketch. Start a new part, and then work on my second piece.